afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Trader Merlin Show. It is your weekend edition, Friday. That means one thing. It's whiskey time. Cheers, everybody. Hope you had a great trading week out there. Decent one for me. I can't say I had any really, bad trades this week. Most are pretty good. I had most of them expired worthless on the options side of things. The underliers did well, so I will share that with you as we progress. But cheers, everybody. Happy Friday. And by the way, I did figure out... that was a good one. I did figure out the issue with the doubled stream for, I don't know what happened, but I had to change the stream key, and now I can open up the room and let you guys kind of come in before I actually start the show. So there we go. We got that taken care of. Here is my graphic for today. I asked AI to give me a picture of bulls and bears and kind of a cool, Wall Street type of thing, but it's weird. It's like they gave you two bulls. I don't really have the bear. The bear doesn't look like a bear. It's like he's got horns. But anyway, it's supposed to be a bear on the right-hand side. And the reason that is bullish and bearish is when we look at the top 8 markets that I cover kind of to start the show or wrap up, depending on how the show goes, 4 of them were up, 4 of them were down. And only one of them was significantly up. That, of course, was the NASDAQ, which has its 5th week in a row of gains. Phenomenal. And, of course, the exclamation point on that is going to be the NVIDIA earnings. So, pretty cool. Let me do I'll do the top 8 like normal, and then I'll go to a couple listener questions I had and see what I can cover for that. And then, of course, if you have something you want me to discuss on this show, just let me know. We'll see what we can get to. All right, number 8 was your dollar index. As you can see, for the week, not bad, right? This is your daily time frame here for the dollar index. Today was down 0.29%, but overall for the week, actually looked pretty decent. And I'll bring up the weekly time frame here. I'll call it the Bob Dunn chart. We've had on the weekly time frame, at least going back until last year, December of last year, it is making higher highs and higher lows. Now, we came back and retested this low. Of course, I made a trade on UCO off when this thing got into that demand zone as well. I had a little bit of a pop. The question now is, does this hold? Everybody here should be wondering that, because this is, to me, one of the major drivers of our markets for the next couple weeks. If we get down below this little yellow box I've got drawn here, then the market should have a pretty nice rally. Market should take off. As it stands, here's your daily time frame. We've had that pretty significant pullback into it. We rallied up to this 105 level, which we thought would be, or at least I thought would be, a supply zone. Went a little bit past it, but reacted to it, and today selling off. So really, ultimately, it depends what happens in the next couple weeks. I would say that you can put a yellow box around the range for the last week and a half and just do nothing until it gets out of there. We just wait for that dollar index to have a nice move up or down. I can make arguments for it moving to the upside, but we've got that intermediate term trend from last year up, short-term trend from April is down. So mixed signals I'm getting from my dang dollar index. Let's look at the 10-year. 10-year as well had a sell-off that was much more significant than I thought it was. I anticipated stopping earlier on, and here we are, drifted lower. However, 6 out of the last 8 sessions have been to the upside for that yield. On the 10-year, we were down 0.22% on the day, but for the week, we posted good gains on the 10-year with regards to its yield, and it's the same kind of picture as that dollar index. Is it going to continue this bigger trend up, or will it continue this shorter trend to the downside? I have no idea, and time will tell. Let's see. Gold by the D-Rip. I like it. Good to see you out there, D-Rip, Margaret, and Jimmy, and John, Joe. Double Joes today. Katut, Tomasina, Margaret, Big M, Future, and Les started things off. Welcome, everybody. All right, so our gold tanked for the this week. Was one of the worst performers on the week was gold, at least from the top 8 that I have. You have a level across the bottom here, which goes into mid-May or early May, and I'll put a line at that dead low. That dead low being 22.85 on gold. That will be the line in the sand for me. I am looking to accumulate some gold, but I really want it to fall more. Just like my silver. Now, unfortunately, silver left me in the dust, left me behind. I know, Margaret. I do want it to go down more. I want it to go down more. I'd love it to just crater and be able to buy in, much, much, much lower. So, unfortunately, I don't know if that's going to happen. Silver is the one that just a hilarious picture of. Today we have actually a bullish harami on silver, which lead you to believe that next week we'll see some more upside movement. But man, what a run! What just left me out in the cold after I got rid of my 18,000 shares of SLV. I was hoping to get back in at 23.50, but that may not happen. And obviously, selling puts right now at 23.50 is going to give me absolutely no premium whatsoever. So I'll just wait on my SLV for it to come back down a little bit more. All right, now getting to the good stuff. With a 0.68% gain today, recouping a lot of the losses we sustained yesterday, the S&P is pretty much unchanged on the week. Check out the weekly time frame of this one. Here you go. You've got this small little spinning top right at the top of this really nice uptrend, right at all-time highs. I don't know what else to say here. You know, you can make an argument for bullish or bearish right now. That pattern represents hesitation at all-time highs, at supply. My gut says we're going to see a little bit of a pullback next week, but, you know, the weekend is a long time, and, of course, we don't have markets open on Monday, so we'll have to wait till Tuesday to get this. Best to be in a cash position, not have any positions overnight. Are your put orders working? What do you mean? No, all my puts are out right now. Everything on my put side executed or finished out of the money. So, I didn't place any. No, I didn't place any orders on gold or silver. You know, I looked at the option chain market to see what I could get at 23.50. I'm kind of in my mind. That's kind of the spot I want to get back in. There's no premium. It's just not worth it. Just not worth it at this point. So that looks pretty interesting for me from a bearish side when we look at that weekly time frame, because I love selling puts on a Friday before the 3-day weekend. Absolutely. And it's because you're getting 2 free days, right, Big Eb? You got 2 free days of almost risk-free to you. Yeah, it's just 3 free days of time decay. It's fantastic. You know, I should have today. I just was busy. I got family and relatives in town, so it's been a little bit hectic over here. And going to the baseball game tonight as well. All right, here's the big celebratory moment. Of course, NASDAQ, we know, breaking to all-time highs. We had all-time intraday highs, all-time highs period, all-time closing high. And for the week was one of the more bullish markets out there. Finished today at 0.94%. You know, you had finally some help from supporting cash. So you had a bit of an up move today in Apple. You look at some of the big names. We had a gap up today on Google. Amazon was the only one of those that was down, which was down just 0.17%. Then you had Meta, which had a nice bullish day of 2.67. So a lot of the Magnificent Seven stocks helping out, and of course Nvidia continuing its nice move to the upside here, which again I believe we'll see happen all the way until we get, not every day, but I think you'll see it continue to rally up until that split day on June 10th. So we have some, in my mind, quite a bit of upside potential here for Nvidia. I am not long. Big Eb, you still long? I think you probably still are long your Nvidia shares. So all in all, a fantastic day for tech, and that's what vaulted NASDAQ too. It's all-time highs and the best performer for the week from a broad market perspective. Now, the Russell, which was your bronze medal winner today, did have a nice day, up 1.12%. That is a bullish harami for those of you who are candlestick pattern aficionados. That would mean, typically, well, not mean, but that would imply that you're seeing a reversal in price and most likely an up move in the following candle. However, that following candle will not happen until Tuesday. Gotta love that. All right, second place finisher here. Crude oil was bouncing off those lows a little bit, 1.21%. I'm going to take this yellow box out because I'm not using it anymore. I personally think it was worn through. That's why I didn't take that trade yesterday, which would have been nice for today, but I mentioned I'm not going to take a stab at that level again because I feel like it's just been hit too much. Today we had a nice little rally up there. I keep trimming it and it stays a large position. Nice. Good for you, Big Eb. Love when you got a trade that looks like that. I mean, you look at Nvidia, guys. There's only really a couple of charts that look better. One that comes to mind is going to be Chipotle. I mean, check out CMG. We've looked at this one the other day, but I mean that chart is more consistent and just absolutely percentage-wise gorgeous for Chipotle. It's crazy because you're like, one, burritos. This is burritos, and this is potentially technology that's going to change the future of everything with regards to chipsets. Yet the burrito looks better. So bizarre to see things happen like that. Big Eb, weekends make me nervous and my one day date expirations. Yeah. Yeah, I could see. For me, it doesn't make me too nervous if I'm selling because I'm typically selling far enough out where I'm not worried about it getting hit. And those 3 days is kind of blanket out for me. But with a strategy like an Iron Condor or some other strategy, that may change the dynamic of it a little bit for you. All right, best performer on the day, Bitcoin, 3.38% move to the upside. We are back to, feels like following this kind of downtrend line I had drawn in there a while back. But the good news is we're staying above that 67,300 mark, which was kind of was a supply zone. Now it's a demand zone. All in all, looks okay for Bitcoin. did get a question about Ethereum. If you look at the Ethereum chart, Ethereum gave back a little bit, but not a ton, right? We had yesterday was your really big volatile day as that spot ETF came out, and it looks evident this was a buy the rumor, sell the news kind of thing, because the huge move came on the expectation on Monday that they were going to get approval. I did not think it was going to happen. I thought we'd see it later this year, but hey, I was wrong again. And we've had basically 3 days in a row of just slightly sideways action, not a lot going on. You would think that after the approval of a spot Bitcoin ETF, this would rock to the upside. Now, I will look this weekend. Again, like all of you, I have a bunch of stuff planned for the weekend, but I will try to get in there and make a list and find out what the new applied ticker symbols are for these 6 or 7 ETFs in the space of Ethereum, and see what does it look like the Bitcoin one, right? Do we get that big surge of influx of capital from institutions? There was a ton of movement yesterday after the announcement on Coinbase, because you can track on-chain transactions on Ethereum. There was millions and millions of dollars moved of Ethereum back and forth between these exchanges. What does it tell us? It just tells us there's activity, but there's a couple analytic sites that I'll follow that kind of break that down as far as who it was and what they were doing. All right, so that's your top 7 or 8 markets out there. Again, half we're up, half we're down, which gives us that kind of bullish and bearish market for the week, a little tug of war, if you will. So let me go to a couple questions I didn't get a chance to answer. One was from today, and the other one was from a while back. The one from a while back says, how do fundamentals and price charts relate? Is it possible to come up with a methodology that would be minimizing the possibility of overlooking something like the fact that a company has a lot of debt? So Will, I'm sure it's possible to create an algorithm or data set or some AI application that goes and looks through all of the market variables. So you have certain styles. Let's say you're a fundamental analyst. You're looking at income statements and balance sheets and earnings and all that stuff. That's really relevant. But even if you're someone who specializes in that focus of markets and analytics, you might miss some things. So this might be another area where AI could come and help and handy at scanning everything, and you tell it, hey, these are all the things I've learned in textbook fundamental analysis. Here's everything I want you to search for. What does it look like? And I think we'll start to see more applications and sites like that where you can type in a symbol and it will scan everything fundamentally and then give you an output. Now that implies that you do trust the fundamentals and the numbers that are being released by these respective companies and their chief financial officers. So that's the only tricky part I find about it. How do fundamentals and price charts relate? Well, this is the never-ending battle between technical analysis and fundamental analysis. And maybe one day I should do a show specifically on that topic so I can kind of elaborate on these, but I will keep it simple for now. When you look at a price chart, that reflects all that is known or knowable about a share price, right? So if we look at something like NVIDIA, it reflects all that is known or knowable. So all the super big fundamental hedge funds, they're going to have access to information. They know things. You look at people on the inside of the company, the CEOs, etc., the people making the financial reports internally, they know. You have so many people with information that price reflects all of that collective knowledge. Now, some people have better knowledge than others, and we might be able to see some of that action on a price chart. But ultimately, fundamental analysis helps shape the price charts. Now, I'm a believer that I don't need to waste my time looking at all the fundamentals because it's reflected in the prices of a security. So I can look at a price chart and know right away how they're performing. Now, of course, on the short term, we look at something, let's say on a 5-minute time frame. Let's go here to, let's just go to NVIDIA again. Look at NVIDIA on, let's say, a 5-minute time frame. Of course, this has nothing to do with fundamentals. This is not fundamental driven at all. This is momentum driven. This is shorter term stuff. But when we take a step back, I do believe that a lot of these bigger levels are driven based off of fundamental data and inputs. So I don't want to call myself lazy. I think that's not the right term. I'm just somebody who would rather take the easier route, which I believe is technical analysis. And they do relate. Fundamentals help drive the perception of a company, whether that's good or bad or stagnant. It's the perception of what the company is going to do in the longer term. Now, that doesn't always apply. We could look at something like GameStop, which, of course, is a joke. It is a company that's struggling significantly. They are definitely having to change their business model. They might make it, but I think the probability is very high that this drifts slowly to zero. So the fundamentals will most likely reflect that. Let's go back to the last earnings announcement. They actually made 22 cents per share, which was pretty interesting. And the quarter before that, they made just under a penny per share. Their earnings come out. The next one will be on June 5th. So we'll see if they continue to lose money. And as Andres says, a lot of these meme stock, he says AMC's fundamentals, you took it away. You could leave that there. He says AMC's fundamentals aren't relevant to their earnings either. And oops, let me go AMC. Aren't related to their price chart. And that's true. You know, you look at AMC, they lost 76 cents at the last earnings announcement, which was May 8th. They lost 54 the earnings announcement before that. They made 8 cents before that, and then they made 8 cents before that. So they were making money. Now it's just losses, and these big spikes you see here are just driven by what Tom says. So if you look at price action, and Tom's correct, price equals is a formula, right? It's the fundamentals certainly play into it. You have hype, which is your GameStop stuff, and then manipulation, whatever the institutions decide to drive those share prices with upgrades, downgrades, economic announcements, etc. So it's not solely, as I said, he says, how do they relate to the price charts? It's not exclusively fundamentals. It's a mix of all that is known or knowable, which goes to Tom's point. It's fundamentals, it's hype, and the ultimate is manipulation. So I like looking at fundamentals if it's something that I really want to invest in for the long haul. Like, for example, Bitcoin. I know the fundamentals of Bitcoin intimately. I mean, I don't like calling myself an expert in anything. I feel like when you call yourself an expert, that there's no room for growth. When it comes to understanding the mechanics of Bitcoin, I would call myself an expert. Like, I've sat and just looked at math equation after equation, figured out exactly how Bitcoin is created, what it does, how it functions. So from that, I'm a fundamental expert in Bitcoin. Now, you look back at some of the other ones, like, am I a fundamental expert in how Algorand functions? No, but I could go and research that. But they're still driven by hype. They're driven by manipulation, and pumping is one of the major things. And again, we can see all of that on a price chart. So there you go, Will. I hope that helped out a little bit. Scott sent this one in today. I think this was on the YouTube channel or to my email. Either way, you guys can always send in questions at TraderMerlin@gmail.com or put them down below any of the YouTube videos. It's the easiest way. He says, you were talking about ORB, open range breakout. Do you use 24-hour data or RTH, regular trading hours? This is totally up to you. I don't use extended hour trading. So when I'm looking at it, I'm just doing off of regular trading hours. Now, that's obviously going to be different if you're applying this on the futures market, right? If I'm using the futures market, you still have to look at the extended hours trading because there's no real partition there. I draw my opening 15, if I'm doing futures, on the opening 15 of the regular equity market. So I'm in California, so from 6:30 to 6:45, I'll map out the high and low for that one. And that's the simple, easiest way to open range breakout. Same thing with like SPY. So if we look at SPY, let's go here and go to, let's say, do 5 minutes so we can see the 50-minute candles. And we have extended hours trading on the chart right now. None of the stuff in the shaded area matters. In this example, it would have been, there's your first, there is the opening one, 5, 10, 15. So there's your low, and there is your high for the opening 15. And between those two red lines on your screen, that's the opening range. And you're basically just looking for that opening range breakout. That's it. Yes, remove that line. I got alert set. Sorry about that. So that's the simple way of doing it for me. Just during regular market hours. All right. And what else did I have? Let's see, what does Tom say? My go-to reference is growth of earnings and comparing it to the price. You can see this showing in the price earnings ratio on your chart. It tells you where things are going long term. I would make one little asterisk to that, Tom, and I would say it would show you where things are going long term based off of everything remaining the same. So given all things market related staying the way they are today, you should see those continue on. And that's why this is so difficult, because we can look at a company's fundamentals. Like, we can look at NVIDIA and their unbelievable growth, right? Revenue is $1 billion more than expected, phenomenal. Obviously, there's just massive capital pouring in. If everything were to continue as is for NVIDIA right now, are you looking at a $10 trillion company in a few years? Because that would be in line with their growth rate right now. I don't believe that will happen. I think it'll slow down at some point. And that also assumes that the demand for AI stays as peaked or becomes more elevated in the next couple of years. Does that happen? My thinking is that NVIDIA will continue to do well, but I do think you're going to see other competitors step up and take away a little bit of that market share. It was the same argument I made about Tesla years ago. Now, Tesla continued to go up, but there was a lot of companies that have come in and taken a part of that business from them, a little bit of that business from them. Certainly not a lion's share of the business by any means with Tesla. And I don't think that'll be the case with NVIDIA either. I think NVIDIA will still be the lead dog, but when you have AMD and Intel basically saying, hey, you know what, we're going to switch and start to look for these types of processing chips and change our model a little bit, you bring in more competition. And then, of course, a company like Intel, or not Intel, let's say Microsoft. So let's say Microsoft spends, I don't remember what the number was, $14 billion or something. They spend billions of dollars on AI. That won't continue either. Right? So part of the reason this industry from a fundamental perspective has been taking off and the PE ratio for NVIDIA is surging is because Apple, Amazon, Microsoft are buying thousands of these chips from NVIDIA. At a certain point, they're going to go, we've got enough of these chips. Now we have to turn them into something. Now, granted, NVIDIA will certainly have the software to make the revenue from and hopefully the data center storage, which was a massive performer for them. But, even if we look at a fundamental metric like PE ratio, which I do agree with Tom, you're assuming that everything remains the same. And we have so many external forces pushing on this AI industry, both up and down. And if any one of those changes dramatically, then we could see the pendulum shift very quickly from one side to the other. I was giving a presentation this morning, and I was talking about how when you look at demand over time, and go back to something like the dot-com bubble. You had everybody in the dot-com era, the late 90s, 98, 99, 2000s. All you have to do is just, doesn't matter what your company did, just start talking about AI. Or back then it was talk about dot-com and how you're going to become a dot-com business, and everything would really soar to the upside. I think that's happening with AI right now as well. And, do we get that same sort of market crash? I don't think we will. Let's go back to a weekly here so I can just show you what happened to the dot-com bubble. There is the beginning of it and the popping of it, right? I mean, this was a colossal meltdown. And it's the fact because so many companies were trying to do everything they could in the dot-com era or market, but they didn't really have any plan. The market fell 83%. Now, I don't think that'll be the same scenario, but there is a parallel. And the parallel is everybody's talking about AI. This is revolutionary. This is going to change the world. And that's the same narrative we got from dot-com. So, I certainly would like to see some corrections in here and allow me to build some longer-term portfolio positions at a discount, but I certainly don't want to see this market drop 83%. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would be pretty upset with that, particularly those of you who are right around 65 years old. A market crash like that would be unacceptable. But anyway, I do see some very significant parallels between the AI hype and the dot-com hype. And we know how that one turned out. Tom says, NVIDIA fundamental is similar to a few competitors. NVIDIA buys chips from TSM, as do others, so I see the advantage. Yep. Okay. So there we go. That was 2 questions in the book. Let me have another sip of this whiskey here. Off to a nice baseball game. Yep, and how did the metaverse work out? Similar, right? But metaverse was a very niche thing. Metaverse was, okay, companies are going to go into this space, but it wasn't as full-blown as what's happening with AI. I think what makes that very clear is how Meta, who changed their name from Facebook to Meta, has completely dropped their metaverse project. They're like, nope, we're done with that. We're going on AI. That was a pretty big about face for Meta and cost them quite a bit of money. But you're right. The metaverse is something that's kind of fizzled out. I don't think they're the same. You're going to get an ad right now, so I'll wait for the ad. I don't have to wait for the ad to go and you start later. I'm not sure how that all works. When you look at the metaverse, to me, that was a passing fad. The metaverse was, I made jokes about it because I'm sitting here looking out the window in my office going, I'd rather be outside than sit in a digital world making digital friends and buying digital stuff and cost me a bunch of money and time. That's not living. However, AI, I think, is a completely different ballgame. I think it's a completely different world, and I think it can impact us in so many ways. It was a Wix ad, huh? Develop that website, Margaret. Develop that website. So yeah, I think AI is the real deal. I think it's legit. I think it I'm scared of it at the same time. I think Elon Musk made a comment. I didn't catch the whole thing. You guys may have seen it. I think yesterday or day before, he was speaking on some conference, and he said, in the future, work will be optional. If you want to go to work, you can, but you won't need to because AI is going to be doing everything. It's like, well, then what are you doing for income? Like, how are you going to earn a living here? So I'm very curious to see what the future holds, but I think the AI hype is here to stay. It's just, do all of these companies that are saying, hey, we're AI, do they really produce anything? Are they really coming to market with services that are going to be sold and utilized? I don't know. I'm not an expert in that area. Fortunately for me, I have some friends that are very into it, and they've been dropping a bunch of different names that I should look at and think about. And it's funny because they all circle back and say, just buy NVIDIA. Just buy the damn stock. I'm like, all right. I still don't own it. Companies that don't translate huge amounts of money instead in AI into real applications are exactly. And I get to my point right there, Andres. If they say they're going to do something because it's the AI hype and they get all this funding and price shoots up, they need to deliver on that. If you're Apple and you just bought 14 or billions of dollars worth of these chips from NVIDIA, now you better put that to work and earn more than whatever you paid. I could, for some reason, 14 billion sticks in my head, but I don't think it was that much. If you spent $1 billion on chips from NVIDIA, then you better get a rate of return that's greater than $1 billion. And we may see some of that, but when it comes to like browser pieces, Microsoft and Google are going to be going head to head with regards to an AI browser. I think you're going to see other competitors step up with an artificial intelligence browser that will rival Google and others. So it brings in new competition. So if you spend all that money as Google for these AI chips from NVIDIA and you're not getting that rate of return, then Google's bottom line suffers and their share price drops, right? So there's a lot of intertwined fundamentals here, all relying on the success of artificial intelligence, which is exciting. Oh gosh, Tom says, toss Apple's $3,500 VR goggles into the dead hype pile for the metaverse. Yeah, you know what? It's like, I would like one. I think they're really cool, but I mean, a $3,500 price point, I think when that came out, we all laughed at it anyway. I know one friend who bought one because he's a geek and he'll buy anything Apple puts out. It was like $1,500. Like, I bought an Oculus. I think my Oculus was $299 or $199. I like it. I played it. I watch movies. Actually, it's my favorite thing. At night, I can just lay in bed and I put the Oculus on and I can have it rest on my head as opposed to hurt my head. And I have like the biggest movie screen in the world right in front of me, and it's quiet for anybody else in the house. It's pretty cool. Old phones won't be able to use AI. Correct. There you go. It's an interesting one, right, Margaret? Because what'll happen is the AI or the Apple 16, iPhone 16. I assure you that the ad campaign, the marketing hype will be AI. It's going to have an AI assistant built into it, which they already kind of have with Siri, but hey, it'll be something different. But yes, they'll push that you need the new phone, which could create a whole new wave of sales. So that AI hype train is pretty damn impressive. All right, let me go into another question here. This one came in from Amadou. I hope I pronounced your name right. He says, and this is paraphrased. He says, is BlackRock lying about their Bitcoin holdings at Coinbase? So bottom line is this. Out of the 11 ETFs, I believe that 8 or 9 of them are holding all of their cryptocurrency, all their Bitcoin, at Coinbase. And because Coinbase is a centralized exchange, it begs the question, do they have to report all that to the blockchain? Are they holding things, quote unquote, off-chain and doing off-chain transactions? Because when I buy a Bitcoin or I send a Bitcoin to anybody else, I'm directly interacting with the Bitcoin blockchain. So the market knows exactly where that Bitcoin is, what it's doing. With Coinbase, Kraken, Binance, Gemini, these entities have a pool of assets. And yes, there's a wallet where they're supposed to be keeping all of this, but is that actually reported to the blockchain? And does BlackRock actually have an audited inventory of all the Bitcoin they hold for this spot ETF? Right? They should be required to be producing that information. And my question and skepticism, and I think it's Amadou's as well here, because there's a bunch of people making videos about that this Bitcoin doesn't exist, is that when BlackRock is reporting to the SEC and says, yes, we have 1 million Bitcoin, whatever the number may be, that they don't actually own 1 million Bitcoin. What they're doing is they're going to Coinbase and saying, can you show us 1 million Bitcoin? And they say, there you go. There's 1 million Bitcoin back-ending BlackRock. So BlackRock appears to have the 1 million Bitcoin, but then when, the Bitwise one comes up, hey, do you have your 100,000 Bitcoin? Oh, yeah, here you go, Coinbase, show them. And they show it. It's an interesting question. I'm not sure about what goes on behind the curtain at Coinbase. Given the fact they're publicly traded, and given the high-end importance of all this for someone like BlackRock, who can't afford a scandal like that, I actually do think that they do hold the Bitcoin at Coinbase. I think it's legitimate, but I'm not on the back end. I'm not meeting with CFOs, and I don't know exactly how they custody all of their Bitcoin for not only for BlackRock, but for all the other clients. However, does it open the door to a potential manipulation on the part of BlackRock? 100%. Because BlackRock could basically use their power, their clout at Coinbase, and borrow shares from Coinbase, sell those, creating crashes in the market, and be able to buy back their Bitcoins at cheaper prices. There is the potential, by using these centralized exchanges like Coinbase, Kraken, Binance, Gemini, and others, to use them for manipulation purposes. Now, I would assume, which makes me stupid for assuming, but I would assume that there are some regulatory pieces put in place to prevent BlackRock from doing that. That said, I also assume that there were measures in place that would prevent a brokerage firm from trading customer funds as their own, like FTX did, like Celsius, Voyager, and BlockFi. So, at this point, we have to trust that everything is above board. Hopefully with FIT 21, which does establish some framework and guardrails for cryptocurrency and digital assets, hopefully that hashes out some of those details, and maybe we can get a transparent view of what goes on. But I don't know if I necessarily trust it. I don't know if I really trust what's going on behind the scenes at Coinbase with regards to the Bitcoin holdings for all of these ETFs. Man, if I'm a Russian hacker, I am targeting Coinbase like you wouldn't believe. Those wallets, if I can find a way in, Coinbase has been hacked before. All right, they've been hacked before, and we'll see if if they get hacked again. Geeks will buy them, but Apple has a lot of customers that have nice hair and makeup, but that won't do well with the swim mask. I confirm with my wife and daughters. All right. Yeah, there are people who are the addicts that are waiting in line for something that I'll go tomorrow and get it without waiting in line. All right, what else do I have? I think I answered all the questions that had come in. Yep, I did answer all the questions that came in. So the only thing that I have open right now, well, not the only thing. I actually look at one of my accounts here just so I can make sure I actually... Rivian has been just absolutely nuts from a volatility perspective. It's been crazy the past couple days. We finished today at 1044. So as you know, I sold calls against my position. I sold puts for some more that I wanted to accumulate. Both of those are going to expire worthless. I'll do the same thing starting next week. I'd love to see on Tuesday morning Rivian jump higher to, let's say, $11, and that way I can sell the 12 or the 13 calls and maybe sell the $10 puts and collect another 2 or 3% for the week on those. So that's going to be part of my objective for next week on Rivian. I'm out of my short on the S&P. I'm out on my UCO. I'm thinking if I have anything else. That's it. I got to start building some bigger positions here. I just got a small position in Rivian, so hopefully next week I'll be able to find something that's more appealing, and I'll let you know about that when we get there. Any questions you guys have for me for our weekend edition before I wrap it up? An early show. Can you imagine that? I say all the time I'm going to do a 30-minute show, which I think in the last 922 shows, I may have done one show that was 30 minutes or less. Everything else has been 45 minutes to an hour. Well, we're over a half hour, so I don't have to worry about that. But anything else that you guys would like me to discuss today? Tom says Chinese hackers have a 41% market share, followed by North Korea, Russia, and hackers comes in a distant fourth. Someone's going to hack it, Tom. That's what I'm saying. But the Russians are very smart with the hacking. Andres, if you buy a Bitcoin ETF, are you the owner of the Bitcoin wallet? No, you are not. Nope. No, absolutely not. If you buy a Bitcoin ETF, you have claim to some Bitcoin, that amount. That's in theory what you're supposed to have with the spot Bitcoin ETF is you have quote unquote ownership of that amount of Bitcoin, but you're not going to be able to turn it in and say, give me the Bitcoin. It's not a redeemable type of thing. The ETF is supposed to have a proportional amount of holdings of the Bitcoin based off the number of transactions that come in. So if more people start to buy this ETF, then they're going to have to go buy more Bitcoin to back that up. That's how a spot ETF works. They'll have to buy more of those assets to accommodate the transactions that come in. So no, you do not own the wallet to it. The only way you're actually going to own your own wallet is if you have, a wallet like a Ledger or a Trezor or something like that. If you have a paper wallet like this guy here, right? I own this one. Something like Jack's Liberty or Voyager, you will get a seed phrase initially, and that gives you ownership of it. So if you don't have a seed phrase or a private key, you do not own the cryptocurrency that you think you own. And if you're like me and you don't trust the markets, you don't trust this type of stuff, you got to be careful with that and do self-custody. I think self-custody is the way to go, particularly if you plan on having it for a long time. Send you a YouTube video on my X. You did. I didn't see anything on my X. Let me real quickly bring up here Twitter. Let's see what it was. I won't watch it now because it'll play through the speakers and that could get problematic. But I didn't see it. Huh. I don't know. I don't, Margaret, I didn't see you send me anything. I didn't see you send me anything on X. Tom, that's good. They couldn't beat Rocky and Bullwinkle. They're overrated. Look, in cartoons, Russians are always portrayed as stupid. They are not. Oh, okay, a reply to my post. Let me see. Huh. All right, I'll have to dig for that one because I don't see a notification that Margaret posted a comment on my post. Oh, there you are. Yep. Okay, 1 second. Hopefully it's not going to play through here. I may have looked at it. My brain is just too full of other stuff. All right, I'm not going to play it right now, Margaret, but I did get it. I got it over here. I will watch that one. It looks like it's about rich people and buying cars. It's funny. I had a friend through the financial markets who her husband started a software company that sold for billions of dollars. And they were the most down-to-earth couple that you've ever seen. Like, they dress in very hippie, cheap, thrift market clothing. They drove a Honda Accord, and it's like, you look at them and you'd never know that they were just filthy, disgustingly rich. F-you rich type of money, right? And I think we all have people that we know who drive around in fancy, flashy cars that they probably can't afford. They're probably in debt beyond belief and on the verge of bankruptcy, and they're just struggling just to make ends meet. They're the ones that look like they have the most money, and they usually don't. I got a couple friends in particular that are like that, and it's like, guys, stop wasting your money on stuff like that. Anyway, I'll check it out. Do my comments from my phone show up? Yep, they do. I'm usually pretty good about it, Margaret, so yeah, I'll check that one out a little bit later on. So, obviously, Monday, Memorial Day, a day of reflection and a day to be thankful and to look back at those who have given the ultimate sacrifice for a lot of the liberties and freedoms that we have. It's hard to think about, at least for me anyway, doing this type of program where I can make all the statements I want. That's a great freedom that I have. Your ability to watch these types of programs is a great freedom we have, as other countries around the world may be oppressed and not allowed to do those types of things. And there's a lot of people who've died for that. So it's a great day to sit back and reflect and think about those that have really fought for the freedoms and liberties we have. Think of my stepfather who was in Vietnam, and he was a munition supply truck driver, and he ended up having a roadside bomb explode, and he ended up with shrapnel in him, and he lost a couple buddies along the way. And just watching this guy just struggle with acceptance and understanding of what he had to do, the sacrifices he gave up, it was tough. And I think there's a lot of people out there that didn't get to walk away from situations like that. So thank you to all that are veterans and to all those that have passed away who obviously are not watching the show. Maybe they're watching the show from the great gig in the sky. I wish you a happy Memorial Day. I hope you guys do something fun. Enjoy and reflect on the freedoms and joys and liberties that we have. I will speak to you on Tuesday because I will not be doing the show on Monday. Obviously, I will be probably riding down to the beach and enjoying life and etc. So thank you guys so much. Yep, freedom is absolutely not free. Freedom is costly, and there's people who would die to have the freedoms that you and I have. So hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Thank you again for your viewing and support. If you have emails, comments, questions, feedback, you can email me at TraderMerlin@gmail.com or put a comment down below any of the YouTube videos, and I'll put them on a slide just like I did here for Amadou. Amadou, I hope that you're watching this one. Thank you guys so much. Have a great weekend, and I will see you on Tuesday. Take care.